Alhaji, Yusuf, Maitama, Sule, thank you so much for joining us in today's program.
It's a pleasure.
The topic today is the Nigeria we are versus the Nigeria we want to be. Sir, what is your ideal Nigeria?
I want to see, by the grace of God, a united Nigeria, a Nigeria whose people will be their brothers' keepers, a peaceful Nigeria, a Nigeria where peace will reign and where there will be peace and stability, the prerequisites of development. I want to see a Nigeria where, regardless of our differences in culture, in religion, we will all respect one another, will cooperate with one another, and we will work together in order to move the country forward. I want to see a Nigeria that will build a strong economy, because we have the resources, natural and human. We have the people who are capable and hardworking, who, if they put their work together, will certainly make Nigeria great. I see a Nigeria, or I want to see a Nigeria, and by the grace of God I will see it.
Amen.
In which the economy we will build will be strong, and politically, I want to see a Nigeria that will have the political clout that will enable her to lead the rest of Africa and to inspire the blacks all over the world.
Yes.
Indeed, Nigeria has got all these potentialities. What we need to do is to work hard to realize the potentials or the potential greatness of Nigeria. In order to do this, we need to have what I said earlier on, peace and stability, respect for one another. Above all, we need good leaders, because we always have a saying that if any congregational prayer goes wrong, it is the imam leading it that spoils it. We want leaders.
Yes, sir.
Indeed, not only Nigeria, but also the rest of Africa need leaders, not rulers.
Yes, sir.
Leaders with the fear of God. Leaders who will not lie. Leaders who will accept in public what they have accepted in secret. Leaders, not rulers. Leaders who will not steal. Leaders who are not corrupt. Leaders who will look at the lot of the common man with the eyes of compatriots, not with the eyes of the privileged few.
Yes, sir.
Leaders, not rulers. Leaders, not looters. One see leaders with a vision, not a blurred vision.
Yes. We believe we have that right now
We
in our
have
country.
a lot of them. We only need to do one thing. Bring them out, support them. For instance, the present administration, whatever may be the weaknesses, and we are human beings, each and every one of us has his own weakness.
Yes, sir.
Perfection is an attribute of God, not of any human being.
Yes, sir.
In spite of whatever weaknesses the government has, the leader, the President Muhammad Buhari, is a man of integrity. He's honest. He's not corrupt. And he's patriotic. When he was a military leader some years back, we saw what he did. During the short period he reigned, he was able to instill discipline into the society. He was able to raise the moral tone of the society. He fought corruption, and he gave the country then a sense of direction. Years later, when he became the chairman of the PTF, we saw what he did for the country in terms of development. We expect a lot from him.
Yes, sir.
But he needs to have good aides, good helpers.
Yes. Good helpers.
One tree cannot make a forest.
You're very right, sir. And as a matter of fact, his wife, the First Lady, Aisha Buhari, recently granted an interview where she stated that the president is not listening to the people who voted him in. So for his wife to say that, that really sent waves across the country, and people reacted to that in a surprise, number one, but number two, they applauded her for her honesty. So what advice would you give Mr. President? Because you've called him a number of good things. He has integrity, he's an honest man, he's not corrupt, he's patriotic. So what advice would you give to such a man with very kind and good attributes?
Well, every government everywhere in the world has got what we call a think tank,
Yes, sir.
a group of intellectuals who love the country, who know the country. They are not strictly officials. They are private people, very intelligent, very patriotic. They have reached a stage where they do not fear anybody. They only love their country. Every country has that group. Behind the success of, say, a great country like the United States of America is this kind of think tank, which some people call the invisible government. Every country in the world has got this think tank. I will want to see a think tank for this great man. A think tank.
Yes, sir.
I want also to see an economic committee or council similar to this think tank that will help Mr. President. With all the good intentions he has, he needs good people around him, aides who will sincerely love him and who want him to succeed. So I hope and pray that he will have that.
Yes, sir.
I am not talking about people around him or with him now. I am not in a position to judge. But I would like to see the kind of people I have mentioned around him
Yes, sir.
so that he may succeed. I want him to succeed.
And we all hope so too, sir. And so, still on the topic of the Nigeria we are versus the Nigeria we want to be, you've been able to paint us a picture of your ideal Nigeria. Sarah, you've lived a score of years on this earth, and you've impacted a lot on Nigeria. You were the Nigeria's representative to the United Nations, where you headed the committee on
Against
apartheid in South Africa. So you've done a good job, and you've made an impact on the world at large. I just want to know from your perspective, how long you think it would take us to really harness that potential and really develop our country and our continent at large to the standard that you have painted, the ideal standard that you have painted and you envision.
One cannot say how many years it will take, only God knows. But one will also hope, one will only hope and pray that we may be able to reach that stage. Africa is now being regarded as a backward continent. Yes, we are backward, comparing us with Europe and Asia. But Africa had in the past contributed a lot. We were the first civilization in the world. The ancient civilization of Egypt was great. Indeed, you might have read, it was during that civilization that writing was invented. Hieroglyphics and cuneiform were the first two writings that were invented in the world, and they were invented in Egypt. Black Egypt at that time.
Yes.
There was also architecture and engineering. Look at the pyramids in Egypt. And they had organized administration when most parts of the world had not such organized administration. Medicine also. We invented modern medicine in Africa. So we were the beginning of civilization. Now I believe that this civilization is rotational. It moved from Africa to Asia. It is now in Europe. It will come back to Africa.
Amen. Amen.
But we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to re-examine ourselves. What has gone wrong? What is wrong with us? As I said earlier, it is leadership.
Yes.
I believe the leadership in the world will come back to us one day. But we need good leaders at home in order to realize that.
Yeah.
In order to reach that goal, we need good leaders. It is a pity that in many parts of Africa, political leadership is becoming hereditary. People, when they get to power, always want to perpetuate their stay in office until death do us part, like church marriage. This is wrong.
Yes, sir.
Leaders, many of such leaders, when they get into power, think of themselves and not of the nation. They want to enrich themselves, not their nations. They want to develop their personalities, their families, not their countries. In order to avoid this or to do away with this, we need real leaders whom I have earlier described.
Yes, sir. I completely agree.
Real
with you.
leaders with the fear of God.
I agree.
Leaders who believe that one day they will stand before God to account for what they have done. Africa will certainly be a country to be reckoned, a continent to be reckoned with. But we need leaders.
On that note, sir, let's take a short break and we'll be right back on the Osasu Show.
Thank you.
Some say Africa's golden era is gone. A time when great African kings and queens built their dreams into empires, stretching across the continent and beyond. But we say a new era is upon us. A new set of African kings and queens are on the rise. Driven by the same wealth of character as the kings and queens before them. Building new empires of enterprise with the right partnership. So rise up wherever you are, new kings and queens of Africa. Embrace your full potential and be proud of your heritage. Heritage Bank, your timeless wealth partner.
Welcome back to the Osasu show. Still with me is Alhaji, Yusuf, Maitama, Sule. Thank you so much for sitting tight with us, sir.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir. Before we went on break, we talked about Alhaji's ideal Nigeria, ideal Africa. We talked about the importance of leadership to take Africa to another height in terms of development. So Alhaji, thank you so much for imparting such wisdom and sharing your vast knowledge and experience with us so far. Based on that, sir, I want to bring to your attention a popular quote made by yourself many years ago. You said, "Everyone has a gift from God. The Northerners are endowed by God with leadership qualities. The Yoruba man knows how to earn a living and has diplomatic qualities. The Igbo man is gifted in trade, commerce, and technological innovation. God so created us equally with purpose and different gifts." Would you care to elaborate on that, sir?
No one tribe, therefore, has the monopoly of wisdom or blessing. But we are lucky that we have different tribes having different blessings, all of which are needed in the leadership. So we need one another. We will have to complement one another. We will have to cooperate with one another, work together in order to develop the country and move the country forward. That is the importance. You see, if you go to the United Nations today, I don't know, I left the place years ago, but when I was there was a board in front of the United Nations Secretariat building on which is inscribed a verse from the Holy Quran. I believe there is a similar verse in the Holy Bible, because as I have always said, as far as I'm concerned, all the religions of God are basically the same. Now this verse on that board in front of the United Nations Secretariat building said, "O ye people," that's Allah talking, "O ye people," not "O ye Muslims" or "O ye Christians" or "O ye Jews" or even "O ye unbelievers." No, God is addressing mankind, all of us. "O ye people, we have created you of a man and a woman and divided you into tribes and races so that you may understand one another. No one is greater than the other in the eyes of God except he who is more pious, more useful to his fellow men."
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. That's powerful.
So we should therefore look at my statement in this line. No one is greater than the other except he who is more pious. We are created differently. Not that we should fight one another, but so that we may understand one another. And that is the purpose of creating the United Nations.
Yes, sir.
The United Nations has brought different races, different tribes, with different cultures, different faiths together for a purpose. That purpose is to bring about understanding amongst the various peoples and establish peace.
Yeah.
Peace in the world.
Yes, and I'm so happy that you're talking about peace and uniting people of all different cultures, tribes, ethnicity, religions, and talking more about our commonality than our differences. In Nigeria today and actually across the entire world, we find a lot of divisive rhetoric and a lot of divisive behavior due to religion and tribalism. So, based on your your quote and your experience, what would you advise? How do we shun tribalism? How do we shun division based on religion?
I think it is all either misunderstanding of the religion or deliberate mischief in order to achieve perhaps a selfish end. But I see no reason why difference in tribe should bring about misunderstanding, fighting, quarreling amongst peoples. As I have said earlier, God himself said he has created us differently in order to understand one another.
Yes.
Because if all of us had the same customs and costumes, characters and characteristics, manners and mannerisms, we would not bother to find out about one another.
Yeah.
But because we are different, the inquisitive instinct in us will always urge us to find out why, how. In order to know these answers, we'll come closer together.
Yes, sir.
That brings the beginning of understanding, which will lead to establishing peace and unity.
And unity.
So you see, there is no reason why tribalism, as far as I understand, as far as I see it, there is no reason why we should quarrel. And you should understand one thing. It is a blessing to have different tribes and different cultures in one place, because it is the cross-fertilization of different ideas from different tribes and races that brings about development.
Yes.
And that is why cosmopolitan places are more developed and more progressive than rural areas. That you will find all over the world.
Yes, sir.
Here in Nigeria, Lagos, Kano, Onitsha, Ibadan, they are cosmopolitan places.
Yes, sir.
They are more developed and more progressive than other places. So this should not. As for religion, I agree that religious difference should bring about enmity amongst us. As I said earlier, as far as I'm concerned, and that is the real thing in all the religions of God, all divine religions are basically the same. The purpose of every divine religion, every religion of God, is to believe in the one true God and to serve him. And the moral values taught by the religions are the same. Would we not be kind and just and fair to one another?
Yes, sir.
Either we do not understand the teachings of our religions, or we deliberately refuse to apply those teachings in our lives, practical lives, or we deliberately ignore out of mischief these teachings in order to achieve our selfish ends.
Yeah.
Religion should not be a barrier to our unity. On the other hand, it should unite us.
Thank you so much, Alhaji Yusuf Maitama Sule. We've been speaking to him and tapping into his reservoir of knowledge this past 25 minutes. To watch extended clips from these interviews, you can visit our website, www.theosasushow.com. To find out more news and sustainable development across Africa, also follow us on social media at The Osasu Show on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I have a dream as well that this Nigeria will achieve its potential, its very vast potentials, as long as we all come together, irrespective of tribe, ethnicity, religion, and all our differences, to work together in developing our dear country. Until next time, take very, very good care of yourself. God bless you.